So for those, okay, so Deon, you mentioned, you know, local schools are recruiting. So and then you also mentioned you were getting recruited for basketball, but it wasn't heavy football. So how was navigating through not getting heavily recruited into football? How did you navigate to still manage to get to the NFL?
For me, I definitely think, right, I ended up walking on at Penn State my first year, earned a scholarship, but the thing about me was I was very coachable, I felt like, right? I just was always going to be in the right spot. You're a coach, so you know, like, the one thing you want is you want a guy on the field that you know he's going to do exactly what you want him to do. An amazing play will happen later, but you just need him to be in the right spot, right? So I was very coachable, and I was able to take that right onto the field. So if we pivoted and had to change a play, I was smart. I felt like a step ahead because I also knew the game as well as my talent and kind of how that translates, right? Just in the corporate world or just in your life, right? Like, can you take coaching, can you take teaching and then apply that to whatever it is you're putting it towards, right? I'm in the tech field, so obviously we have to apply a lot of changing things with cybersecurity. But I think the biggest thing to answer that question was just me being very coachable, doing my exact job and being accountable. If it was 3rd and 3 and it was loud and crazy, it didn't matter to me. I was well versed. I knew what I was going to do, and I was just going to make the play. First down, here we go. And I think just all those little things, and then it just over time was like, man, this guy's really good, and that ended up being NFL pick from that.
Football, playing football, you got to be very structured, and it's a certain way you got to go about things and about yourself. So, what is one thing, one lesson that you took from the game that you still apply to your life today, like in your everyday move?
It definitely touched on. I think one of the biggest things is time management. Right, that is a huge thing. So I won't go down that path. But another one I think for me is just not being afraid of the moment, especially as an athlete. Right, you live for the moment. You get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right, that translates into work. You'll see a lot of times in other spaces, people fall to the back, just like in sports, right? You know, the guy, like, bro, you gonna take a rep today or what? Like, people that stand in the back. It's the same in like the corporate world or other things. Like you'll have trying times, and people will kind of, hey, we'll be on a call for like 2 hours. I'm like, bro, you ain't even say nothing this whole time, but stuff was going on. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. You're afraid of the moment. So I think that was big for me of even being young in tech. I started off and people were like, wow, like he is not afraid. Like it's a VP on this call. Okay, whatever. Here's what I need to say. I'm gonna be structured about it, and I think people respected that a lot, and that carried me a long way. Now it continues to carry me now as far as people just being like, man, he is not afraid to be a leader.
Great. So, playing football that can get you in certain door, get you certain access without you having to be or say anything to anybody. You could just walk into certain doors. When did you realize, football alone wasn't gonna get it or cut it for life, and you needed a real life game plan?
I'll say, honestly, it took me to get in the league to realize I wasn't making that much money. Like you talked about, I started getting in rooms with other cats that was really making money, right? CEOs. And to his point, we're somebody, so they want us around too. But then I started to realize for me in those rooms was, man, like these guys are like 40 CEOs making this. They don't need to be in shape. They gonna make this money until they feel like retiring. And I said, okay, that's different right there, right? Like we only gonna make this money for however how long you in shape, and each year is something. They were different, so it took me to see that, and then being in those rooms, I wanted to take advantage of that, and also just kind of realizing too, like I thought I knew what money looked like growing up as a young, right, city kid. You think you know what money looked like. I grew up Allen Iverson around the way, like, oh, that's what it looked like. Your entourage, your crew, money looked different, man. Like them folks don't even want you to know how much money they got, right? It's just in the things that they would do and say, like, oh yeah, we just flying out of here. Like, oh, what time you gotta get to the airport? No, I got my own jet. Like, oh, okay, that's how we living. But just different, and so just being in those rooms, I realized, okay, and how to get to that point. I realized a lot of them has some type of post college, whether it was certifications, masters, or something like that. So that's what drove me to do more continuous learning after, because I said I want to be in this room in a different capacity after being an athlete.
Leaving the NFL, that's never. I don't really think that's never easy to finish the sport. You love and you don't play for forever. So like adjusting to not having that, every day I know I got this meeting, this practice, this to do list this long itinerary of stuff to do. What was the transition or the adjustment like moving into the regular, everyday lifestyle?
I'll definitely say it was very hard. The transition, as far as most guys probably up here know, like, you don't really get to choose your time a lot of the times, right? And honestly, like, the NFL is like, hey, if Tuesday tryouts, like, if you at home on the couch, free agent, Tuesday they call you, they need you to be ready Thursday, and they working you out on Tuesday, like, they want you to be in game shape. So it's like, how are you in game shape if you not with a quarterback, if you're not doing backpedaling drills? So one of the hardest things was actually when you're done, like, saying, like, hey, I'm going to go get a job, because the second I say I'm going to go get a job, I'm not training, and therefore I'm not going to be ready to be, like, in game shape. There's no, like, hey, we give you a week to get ready. That thing is like, hey, you need to be in game shape or not. So actually walking away and saying, hey, I'm done was one of the hardest things. But I'll also say, picking back off of him, as what Brandon said, you're trained at such a high level to succeed and to win as an athlete, you just pivot. Like, all right, now I'm going to take that and put that towards another passion. But I love what you said, man. Like, people think, like, you just going to play and then I'm going to be done. You're not even wired to be done, because you're going to be like, what am I going to do with all this time? Like, I'm a winner. I'm a successful person. Like, even people that make really good money, you're going to take that passion and say, okay, now I'm going to go and do something else, whether you're going to television, whether you're going to tech, finance. But you're just built differently because of being this high-level athlete, that you're trained to be like, I don't just sit at home and chill. Like, I'm built to do something.
Okay, we're gonna get into that a little bit. We're not gonna say no business or nothing like that. But so, being young and going to the NFL like that comes with a lot of money behind it. Can y'all talk about, like, the discipline it took to not just splurge or just blow it, and still be able to kind of eat off what you got or what you had in the NFL?
For me, another thing, just literally, I think what you said was great about don't think you're just going to play ball and that's it. The discipline that it took me was, once again, just getting in those rooms and just seeing, like, hey, you think $5 million, $10 million is a lot, you don't even understand what you can spend money on until you're in that room. Quick story, I got drafted. It was a guy, his brother, him and I were the same age, we were from D.C., and his older brother, Vernon Davis, was a tight end in the league already. Day we got drafted, right after that, literally, he hit us up and was like, hey, man, we want to go to this island. I think it was a whole island that the guy from Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Mobile, Branson, he owns a whole island. I didn't even know you can rent an island and just go. I've never been in a room where it was like $80K a week or something. But you get the island, it's just you. So, right, you got to fly your people out and everything. But it's just the point of, you think that's a lot of money until you get up there and you realize there's so much to spend it on. So that discipline, what you talk about, is like, it takes a lot, because, like, yeah, that sounded really cool, right? Like, they went, I did not, thankfully, right? But it was just like a whole thing where, like, it taught me really fast, like, man, I didn't even know this was like a thing, like this amount of money that you can spend on these cars, trips, like just stuff that you haven't even been exposed to because you're not even at that level yet. So just really to build on what he said, don't think just because, $5 million, I'm gonna live off it the rest of my life. It's not gonna work like that. So definitely have a plan B and just, be smart financially.
So, okay, so we do have various athletes in here that play different sports. And we do have high school seniors in here who are about to go into, college football and college basketball, whatever they do. What is, like, one thing, or one move or one step every athlete in this room should take before, embarking on that new journey, or, new way of life?
Two things I would say. Accountability first. Going into college, whether it's sports or just school, right? Accountability, because there are a million ways to find an excuse not to get something done. Trust me. I was tired, I did this. Accountability, right? He was talking about it earlier. So hold yourself accountable, right? Be different, I would say. And then the other one is study habits, right? You touched on it big. Like, don't think just because, from an athlete standpoint, don't think just because you're the biggest, baddest around here, I promise you there's somebody in the foothills of Iowa that's a dog. And you get to college, you say, oh my gosh, what? So it's going to be, how do I separate myself? How do I put myself in a position, right? There's going to be guys that can jump out the gym, guys that are faster. How do I understand? And you know what? I know if they do this, it's probably going to be cover two, or they're going, when he's faking that blitz, I know this, I'm already ahead of the game. I'm thinking that. like he said, man, like if you're a smart player, I used to wonder too. One of the things when I got to the league, one of the things I was like, man, these guys ain't fast. Man, they would have 7 different ways to get to the same spot that they needed. I don't care if you was inside leverage. I don't care if you was outside. I don't care if you bailed. They had something right off top. And it's like those study habits, because they already know, like, okay, I got 15 ways to get there, bro. I'm going to just see which one you want me to use. So study habits for the game, trust me, study, be ahead of the game. And then in school, right, study habits. Like he said at Georgia Tech, I went to Penn State, also different breed. Is some cats, I'm like, I just saw you sleep on a park bench at 3 a.m., 7 a.m., hair slick, got an A on the test. How? Different people, man. Know yourself, know your own study habits, trust me. Like that is a big thing, studying and getting yourself together, because that, like I said, carries for school and for on the field or on the court.